The gentlewoman from Wyoming is recognized.
Special Counsel Herr, when you determined that no criminal charges should be brought against President Biden in this matter, you focused on the specific facts surrounding the classified documents, where President Biden stored them, and on his memory and age. You wrote that President Biden's, quote, memory was significantly limited during his recorded interviews with the ghostwriter in 2017 and during his interview with the Special Counsel's Office in 2023. You also expressed concern that prospective jurors would be persuaded by President Biden's presentation as a sympathetic, well-meaning elderly man with a poor memory. Your assessment, however, was focused on how President Biden would currently present to a jury if he stood trial. Is that correct?
That was an element of my explanation to the Attorney General for my decision. It was not the only element.
Okay, that wasn't my question, but it was one of the things that we were considering was his current state of mind, his current memory. Correct?
One of the things that I considered would be how, if a trial, whenever a trial theoretically were to be held, how President Biden would present himself to the jury if he elected to testify.
Okay. You did not compare President Biden's current memory or condition with his memory or condition when he was in the Senate or when he left the vice presidency and took the classified documents subject to your investigation. Is that right?
Actually, I believe that's not correct, Congresswoman. One of the things that's in the report is an assessment of the president's memory based on recordings from the 2016-2017 timeframe, recordings of conversations between Mr. Biden and his ghostwriter, and comparing that with the president's memory that he exhibited during our interview of him in October of 2023. So there was a comparison there.
Okay, so, but unless there was some issue undisclosed to the American people during his 50 years in office, you found that Mr. Biden fully understood his legal responsibility related to the handling of classified materials, which is why you concluded in your report that Mr. Biden, quote, willfully retained and disclosed classified materials after his vice presidency when he was a private citizen. You state that on page 1, correct?
I believe that what I stated on page 1 was that we identified evidence that Mr. Biden willfully retained classified information after the end of his vice presidency, but ultimately we concluded that the evidence was insufficient to warrant.
I understand that. Please listen to my question. What I'm getting at is that Mr. Biden fully understood that he could not keep classified information at his home as both a former senator and vice president. Isn't that right? He understood that, correct?
My understanding is that based on the evidence, my assessment was that a jury...
That isn't what my question was. Please listen to my question. My question was that Mr. Biden understood when he was a senator and vice president that he could not keep classified materials at his home, at his garage, and in other offices. Is that fair?
I don't think that's accurate, Congresswoman, because when Mr. Biden was vice president, he was authorized to have classified material in his home.
But after he left, he knew that he was not entitled to keep classified information at his home, correct?
After he left, there is evidence to suggest that he knew that he could not legally have classified information in his home. However, there is evidence with respect to his notebooks that he believed he was authorized to keep the notebooks at home based on precedent.
Based on precedent. You know, I guess the way that I would put it is this. President Biden knew better. He knew that he wasn't entitled to keep these documents from when he was a senator, and he knew he wasn't entitled to keep these documents after he had left the vice presidency. But because he's now suffering from an impaired memory, as you so delicately put it, he got away with it. Is that fair?
Congresswoman, what I stated in my report is that there's certainly evidence that some jurors could infer to suggest that Mr. Biden willfully retained and disclosed national defense information. But in my judgment, the likely outcome of a trial, the probable outcome of a trial, is not a conviction.
I have represented a variety of clients over the years in actions against the federal government over, in fact, several decades of time. It's been my experience that the federal government, the DOJ specifically, has essentially unlimited resources to go after and prosecute citizens and will spare absolutely no expense in doing so. It has also been my experience that the DOJ is not only overly aggressive in these cases, but makes it clear that part of the reason for such aggression is to make an example of the poor soul who is the subject of such action. In other words, so that other people will not engage in the same kind of conduct. Mr. Herr, having been a long-term DOJ prosecutor, can you please explain why those people without the last name of Clinton or Biden are typically treated quite differently and seem to be the only ones who are never held accountable for violating the law?
Congresswoman, one of the things that I explain in my report is the fact that there are historical precedents with respect to former occupants of the White House and their retention of classified materials after they leave. So
I'm asking specifically about Mrs. Clinton
Gentlewoman's
and
time has
Mrs.
expired.
Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden.
Congresswoman, I don't have any opinion to articulate with respect to the investigation relating to Mrs. Clinton.
I yield back.
The gentlewoman from Texas is recognized.
Mr. Herr, Special Counsel Jack Smith has charged Donald Trump with 40 counts related to his unlawful possession of classified documents. The most serious charge carries a penalty of 20 years in prison. According to the Trump indictment, Trump stored those documents at Mar-a-Lago, which, quote, hosted events for tens of thousands of members and guests, end quote. The indictment continues, quote, Trump stored his boxes containing classified documents in various locations at the Mar-a-Lago Club, including in a ballroom, a bathroom, and a shower, an office space, his bedroom, and a storage room. Mar-a-Lago is more than a mansion or a compound. It is a club with a membership program that sells access to the public. It has hundreds of people moving through it at any given time. Staffing it alone required 150 staff members. And while those classified national security documents sat in places like his ballroom, Trump hosted more than 150 social events like weddings and movie premieres, which thousands of people attended. In brief, Special Counsel Smith has alleged that Trump willfully and knowingly took highly classified documents to a location accessible by tens of thousands of people. Mr. Herr, was President Biden's residence accessible to tens of thousands of people?
No.
Did President Biden ever bring tens of thousands of people into spaces where he stored classified material?
Not to my knowledge.
Did Joe Biden advertise and sell memberships to his home that would allow members of the public to have access?
Not that I'm aware of.
Did your investigation find that Joe Biden ever hosted movie premieres at his home while classified documents were stored there?
No.
Moving on, among the 150 staff members working at Mar-a-Lago was a Trump aide named Walt Nauta. According to Special Counsel Smith, Trump ordered Nauta to move boxes of documents so that they could not be found by people looking for them. Mr. Herr, did President Biden ever direct his staff to move documents so that you or the FBI could not find them?
We did not identify evidence of that.
In fact, according to your report, as soon as Bob Bauer discovered material in President Biden's residence, he contacted John Lausch, and the president immediately consented to an FBI search of his home. Is that correct?
My report does state that.
And you found no evidence that any documents were moved prior to that search. Is that correct?
Correct.
That's in stark contrast to Donald Trump. President Biden did not obstruct your investigation. He was fully compliant, and with access to the millions of documents he gave you and dozens of hours of witness interviews he facilitated, you were able to fully and totally exonerate him of any criminal wrongdoing. I thank you, Mr. Herr. And before I yield back, Mr. Chairman, I ask unanimous consent to enter into the record an excerpt from the committee's transcribed interview with Stephen D'Antuono, former Assistant Director in charge of the FBI Washington Field Office, on June 7th, 2023, in which Mr. D'Antuono explained that the FBI executed a search warrant for classified material at Mar-a-Lago because there was probable cause to believe that Donald Trump did not fully comply with a subpoena to turn over classified documents.
Never break, always fight, never quit, do it right, play the game, win it life, have no shame, there's no time, feel the pain, live the grind, I could change, in my mind, pick a lane, commit and climb, the only way to win it life. I never miss, that's fact, taking big swings, bitch, hand me the bat, put me in the ring, you'll go out in a bag, cause I sing what I mean and I bring it to the mad light. Ain't got time to kill, I got time to feel, I took the red pill, I know life's short so I wanna live real, but how's it supposed to feel? How's it supposed to feel? How's it supposed to feel? They wanna say my name, but they holding back. They wanna say they hate, but they know it's cap. I ain't play no games, I just do that's fact. And I don't feel no shame, it's a mood you lack. I go crazy, nah bitch I ain't lazy. Track after track, I work on the shit daily. Pass me the jack, right as fuel, got me hazy. About to unpack all these things I've been chasing. I've got visions in my head, like memories after death. To be a legend instead of something you can forget. I'm living up every breath, I'd rather lead than be led. I'll fill the seeds as I spread with every word that I've said.